Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am here to talk about Chepe Mariscal versus Morgan Charriere. These are two awesome fighters that probably belonged in the UFC for some time. They had a tough road, each of them with a handful of losses on the regional scene, but they finally arrived at the UFC last year and they're both winning fighters so far. My pick for this fight, I'm going with Morgan Charriere, and I bet on him as well. But I had it in mind when I bet on him that I'm going to be betting on Chepe Mariscal to win by decision once the props open. So there's that. I do think Morgan Charriere's durability is very strong. I'd be very surprised if Chepe Mariscal got him out of there, unless it was by an injury off a takedown or something. But yeah, Morgan Charriere, he's got 9 losses, 8 of them by decision, 1 submission, a heel hook way back when, and the 8 losses by decision, the majority of those are to the best fighters on the European scene. And a lot of them were close fights, and the last half of them were 5-round fights. So Charriere's durability is something I trust. The 1 submission happened way back when, and he's never been knocked out. I've seen him rocked. The guy Paul Hughes had him doing the fish dance, but he survived, and in the end, that was a very close fight. Although I thought Paul Hughes kind of took over from that moment. But Chepe Mariscal, same thing. He's got 6 losses, and they're all to UFC level fighters, pretty much. This one guy, Frank Buenafuente, a local tri-state area fighter over here, he beat him by decision. That guy never made it to the UFC, but he was very good. But every other loss is to a UFC fighter. Bryce Mitchell and Sean Soriano also beat him by decision. And the 3 TKOs are to Joe Anderson Brito, who's the only legitimate guy to knock him out, Gregor Gillespie, who might still be a top fucking 3 fighter in the world, even though he hasn't fought in 12 years. But he got him out of there with a TKO from the back mount, totally positional. And Steve Garcia TKO'd him in a horrible fucking stoppage. I mean, it was just a horrible dog shit stoppage in the LFA. Steve Garcia had him hurt, was smashing him on the ground, but he got up and I think let himself get hit a little too much on his way up, and the ref rushed to stop it. Horrible stoppage, though, and not a strike against the chin of Chepe Mariscal, in my book. But, both these guys, that's the thing. They belong in the UFC, and they've already proven it. At least I feel like Chepe Mariscal has a bit more, because the guy that Morgan Charriere beat, Manolo Zaccolo, he didn't belong in the UFC, and he just got steamrolled the way he should have. But I think this one is destined to be a close fight, and I think I'm very sure it goes the distance. I'm not very sure. I think there's a chance Charriere knocks out Chepe, but I'm still quite sure this one goes the distance, even if Charriere wins. I think Charriere is definitely the better striker, the more dangerous striker for sure. Chepe is not bad at all on the feet, but he's a guy that likes to mix it up, if not just straight up take it to the ground. And I say that being aware that he's got a bunch of, I think, 7 knockouts and 3 submissions in his career. And we've seen a good amount of his TKOs in the last few years, a lot of them in round 2. He's a guy that is more than comfortable on the feet. But Charriere hits harder, and he's just as comfortable. I think Charriere is going to duplicate some of the success that Jack Jenkins had in round 1 of Chepe's last fight, where, not that Chepe was totally behind there, but I thought he lost round 1, and I thought Jack Jenkins was landing the better strikes, up high and down low. And I think Morgan Charriere has power on his side. But Morgan Charriere, he's got 8 decision losses for a reason. He is a guy that allows his opponents to dictate the fight every now and then. And Chepe Mariscal, you don't have to allow him to do that in the first place. He's going to be bringing it to you. The guy is all action, and he's got a very fast pace. But I'm still picking Morgan Charriere to chop him down and slow him down by landing the more effective strikes. And I also think he's got a good enough base to keep the fight standing against Chepe. Although Chepe's a beast of a grappler, and Morgan Charriere has been out-grappled. A lot of his fights, Paul Hughes out-grappled him. Soren Bach out-grappled him. A lot of his decision losses, that was the difference maker, as it is in a lot of decision losses for whoever the fuck. But I still think that Morgan Charriere is the heart that has power on his side and physicality. I think he'll be able to keep himself standing, and maybe they'll engage in a slower, shittier clinch fight. But I still think he keeps it standing. And while they're on the feet, even though Chepe brings the action and the volume and the pressure, Morgan Charriere is the more effective striker. And of course, if somebody does get knocked out, it's going to be Chepe Mariscal. Morgan Charriere, he's a very tough. Again, I told you I've seen him rocked and whatever, but he's never been put away under any circumstances, positional or otherwise. And on top of that, he's the more powerful guy too between the two of them. So Morgan Charriere is the pick. I guess I'd go with him winning by decision. But I will be betting. I've already bet on Morgan Charriere. I will be betting on Chepe Mariscal winning a decision because I'm very sure that's his primary path to victory, or anybody's primary path to victory against Morgan Charriere. So it makes it a little easier to hedge. And also, Chepe has done nothing but impress me since he's been on my radar. So hope it's a damn good fight. I expect it to be. But yeah, the pick is Charriere. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.